Hello, Anomaly here, and welcome to another Mistweaver commentary video. Today we're going to be discussing Mythic Spellblade Aluriel. She is normally the fifth boss in the instance. However, with the recent nerfs that went live last week, she probably ends up being the fourth boss. The health nerfs make her, I would say, less difficult than Krosus, just from a pure kind of HPS DPS perspective. And the mechanics themselves, once you kind of get them down, are actually not that difficult. So we'll say fifth boss because that's when I killed it, but potentially you will be killing her earlier than normal. So without further ado, let's jump right into the video. So the early parts of the fight are actually fairly boring. There's not too much damage going out until really the marks start ramping up and some great Lua errors, probably from some weak aura I have that's not working correctly. So the beginning part of this fight I end up pretty much just DPSing roughly for the first, I don't know, probably 30, 35 seconds just to just get some extra damage out. Honestly, we kill her, before the second arcane phase, so not too much interesting going on. So right now I'm just kind of keeping Rem up, keeping using my UT procs and getting in position for the first marks. The Paladin and myself end up anchoring each side. So the Paladin anchors side 1, we call it, which gets the first set of marks, and then I'm on side 2 right here. So I anchor side 2 with the always getting the mark. Basically, I'm always part of one of the four kind of groups, right? So here, kind of running for detonate, end up getting fairly low and need to top myself off. Luckily, again, if you keep your rems out, you basically have a ton of UT procs. I also end up using my Chi bird here, which is about 45 to 50 seconds into the fight. The reason I do is that it actually covers pretty much most of the mark damage that's going to go off and these frost adds. The frost adds aren't particularly damaging, however, with the fact that you're going to be targeting heals on the marked people, potentially some of the melee can kind of tick out. The other thing I end up doing is using my manatee here. Sorry. Again, it's just to use it. I end up getting basically innervates for both the fire and the arcane phases, so I don't really need manatee for those pieces. I think I'm using them earlier rather than later. So here you see the fire debuffs go out. People get a fairly low, so you're gonna have to pretty much spam to keep them up. I ended up running Mist Wrap for this. Sorry, I feel like lore messing that up. So I ran Mist Wrap for this fight. I would run life cycles in every previous attempt. This was actually like our third attempt of the night, and I didn't actually realize it because she was dying so quickly. So if I could do it again, I would end up probably running life cycles for this one. I do get an early innervate, so probably the first like 2-3 seconds of the innervate's wasted, but hopefully end up getting enough essence fonts out and we kill the ads fast enough that it doesn't make too much of a difference. Continuing just to keep up my rems, chi burst through the group as much as possible, and I'm my idiot. I just never move out of that arcane room before I take a ton of damage from it. So for the most part, I would feel that like in that fire phase, I also use cake there. If you didn't notice in the fire phase, that's really the most like consistent AOE damage here. This arcane phase is really all about just kind of making sure people are topped going into the actual movement part. I feel that we move a little too much, right? There's also I end up using a Thunder Focus Tea on a Vivify right before this. On subsequent attempts, I would end up probably using Thunder Focus Tea just to get out a Essence Font as we move here and hope for a favorable pants proc. I also used Manatee at that section and used Revival coming up here after the lash from the Felad. Just to kind of, again, top people off and keep it fairly consistent. I get an innervate there towards the end just to make sure everybody else stays as topped as possible, but as these ads are dying, there's not too much damage going off. So this is a great time if you need the mana to lay torrent. That's what I did there. Ultimately, as you see at the end of this video, I could have got away without lay torrenting, but just to make sure I had enough mana for that, I ended up popping a lay torrent there. So now it's back into the rotation, right? Keeping Vivify on cooldown, using Enveloping as needed, and getting in position for, if you're a mark soaker, getting in position for marks. Again, nice part is now my Crane Chi-Ji is back up for this mark phase, so I should be using it here in a couple of seconds as I end up dodging or trying to dodge the ad here. And I end up actually doing something really stupid, which is I don't heal myself at all through that. Like, so right here, I'm not actually healing, I'm just kind of sitting. I toss out a rem for some reason, but never actually single target heal myself, and actually ends up getting me killed. As you can see here, our druid pumpkins, who I was paired with, only ended up living because of whatever the druid, not Ironbark, but the druid basically DR ability. So in that case, that was kind of a mess up on my part. I should have at least single target healed myself, and I was just kind of dancing around the top of the stairs waiting for detonate to go off. But they get me up. I had to pass the mark successfully anyway, so we'll end up keeping it here and passing it, and then I think that's the last pass. The nice part about it is the second time you go through this, the frost debuff drops earlier, so you never get really a frost fire overlap, which is what gives a lot of people. So again, just keeping your ram on cooldown. I kind of don't do it here. I hold on to it a little bit longer than I should, and just kind of just holding the marks, right? I mean, topping people off. As you can see, it ended 7 there. No one was in real danger of dying, and now we're all set up to drop some fire detonates. People get a little bit low, but I have some ET procs and things like that. I use cake there in the middle. Probably the best use of it. However, there's not really. I mean, I guess I could have saved it for the fire phase here. This point, the boss is almost dead. I had assumed that she probably was going to die before the ads come out. I was wrong, but in any event, my mana is in great shape. Just kind of throwing out rems as needed. I get an innervate at a really good time here, so I'm able to kind of spam out Essence Font for the most part and kind of really boost people up and keep them topped. So overall, I mean, with the nerfs to her health, she ends up dying, right here, just as we start the arcane phase. I end up not dying somehow by sitting that arcane orb, but um, I think in general she becomes a very easy fight as long as you can deal with. Really, I think the most difficult part is positioning or getting the frost marks right. You know, making sure those are set up correctly, and then getting the fire ad spread correctly, right? If you can get your frost marks down, and you can get the fire ad spread and understand the damage, it's definitely fairly easy. I would say that this is again a fight where we initially pulled it, and I thought the damage was out of control. Right? I think Krosus had a very similar feel, where the first couple attempts, and really maybe like the first night of attempts, I'm like, there's like no way we're doing this, right? Like 2 hours in, and at least I'm feeling very overwhelmed by the amount of damage. But as people got better in dealing with the mechanics, I guess like this, like normal, the fight ended up being just much easier and more manageable. So with the nerfs, I'd say she's pretty much a joke at this point. So overall, we did end up actually 5 healing this. I didn't mention this earlier, so we did end up 5 healing it. That probably played a lot to played into the fact that I probably didn't really feel the healing requirements too much, but I definitely think this is a 4 healable fight with really any combination of healers, just your 4 best healers. I think I could play a lot better. I think dying was probably not a good issue, not a good thing, and then just getting better with like when to use like chi burst and cake. I feel like I hold it too long if you wait until the end of the till I wreck around the fire phase for cake, and I don't think it does enough if it's just on the marked people. So maybe throw it in melee early on, save someone from the spinny ad, something like that. So, but in general, I mean, she's pretty much a joke with the nerfs. Once you handle the frost debuffs, you'll probably end up killing her in an attempt or two. Even the arcane phase is very easy now. So other than that, that is the video. Like always, thank you very much for watching. If you do have any questions, head over to the Monk Discord. That's where I hang out, and that's where pretty much all your information will be. And I'm doing this video probably just before 7.2 comes out, so good luck in 7.2. And again, thank you very much for watching, and we will talk to you all later. So good luck.